When you're spending tons of resources and losing potentially thousands of soldiers on a completely meaningless position, that's when problems begin to arise. When an army puts their sole focus on any assault, any attack, any offensive on a strategically meaningless place, either two things have happened. The army has gone insane, or they're controlled by a dictator. And both seem to be true for the Russian army in Ukraine. And you're about to find out why. But before we jump into this video, stop this video right now and subscribe to this channel. That way you won't miss out on any new content coming at you, and you'll avoid the bias of modern media. Be sure to hit that notification bell, that way you're being notified when any new video comes out. Without further ado, let's jump into this. Russia's war in Ukraine is, to say the least, not going well for Vladimir Putin. His army has been consistently humiliated and has been pushed back on multiple fronts. There was a time, not even 3 months ago, when Russia was losing ground so fast we could hardly keep track. And although the war position seemed to have somewhat stagnated since the Russian defeat in Kharkiv, this stagnation was broken by the Russian withdrawal from Kherson city. Disaster report after disaster report, retreat after retreat, carnage after carnage, broken promises after broken promises. The Russian government's narrative for the war in Ukraine is being tarnished and trashed, and it can be quite hard for even the most patriotic Russian citizens to actually believe what their government is saying about the war. When they promise victory, defeat comes. When they promise advances, retreat comes. And when they try to hype the public up with PR stunts, the PR stunts backfire, and then comes in a disaster report. This is the current state of Russia's war in Ukraine. Now, war is a game of politics, and politics is usually a game of deception. And so if a politician wants to make what they're doing seem correct, they need good reports, they need PR stunts to keep the public approval on what they're doing. And this is exactly what President Putin is doing. He needs some kind of PR stunt, something to lift the spirits of the Russian people, something to convince the Russian public that his war in Ukraine is going well and that Russia will eventually accomplish its goals. If the public turns against Putin, Putin may be forced to end his war in Ukraine or be forced to begrudgingly end his career. Neither of these things is he particularly fond of. So that's why he needs a victory. And I think this is the #1 reason for Putin's seemingly meaningless assault on a small Donetsk city of Bakhmut. But here we're going to list 3 reasons why Putin is likely launching this assault on Bakhmut. Now, we've already discussed reason #1 for Putin's assault on Bakhmut: morale. Reason #2 is a little more complicated. As most of you already probably know, Russia started the Battle of Donbass with the intention of capturing the entirety of Donbass, mostly including the Luhansk Oblast and the Donetsk Oblast. Now, they succeeded in capturing the entirety of the Luhansk Oblast earlier in the summer, but their offensive stalled at Seversk right here. Then after Ukraine's Kharkiv counteroffensive, they lost a little bit of their control over the Luhansk Oblast. And this is where Putin's assault on Bakhmut comes in. Putin has not given up the idea of capturing all of Donbass, and this is likely still part of the Russian military's main objective. Therefore, the capture of Bakhmut is seemingly critical. If you look at where Bakhmut is stationed, it is very close to the city of Soledar, and it's next to roads that lead all over the Donetsk Oblast. These roads come into Slavyansk and Kramatorsk, and these 2 cities are major targets of the Russian assault on Donetsk. According to Associated Press, taking Bakhmut will rupture Ukraine's supply lines and open a route for Russian forces to press onto Kramatorsk and Slavyansk, key Ukrainian strongholds in the Donetsk province. If that be the case, the assault on Bakhmut does make a little more sense. Despite the appalling ineptitude of the Russian high command, they likely understand the little strategic value Bakhmut does have and the damage it could do to Ukrainian supply lines. And that may be another reason they're pretty serious on taking it. But that's not the only thing a Russian victory in Bakhmut could do. A Russian victory in Bakhmut could end up forcing the Ukrainians to withdraw from Soledar right here. How is that possible? Let me explain. If the Russians take Bakhmut, they'll extend their positions right here. And if they make more advances either in Soledar or to the north of Soledar, they could potentially trap the Ukrainian forces in Soledar in a pincer maneuver. Or they could give the appearance that they are trying to trap the Ukrainian soldiers in a pincer maneuver. Either way, this will likely send shivers down the Ukrainian high command spine, and they would either reinforce a position or hightail out of there. And that could end up leading to a double victory. So, reason #1, morale. Reason #2, the damage to Ukrainian supply lines and the potential strategic value of Bakhmut. Reason #3, it will put Donbass much closer to Russia's grip of control. As we mentioned earlier, if they take Bakhmut, they could potentially take Soledar, and they will have an opening to Kramatorsk and Slavyansk, the 2 most major cities in the Donetsk Oblast. This will bring Russia's goal of capturing Donbass closer to completion, and in the best circumstances could possibly divert Ukrainian forces from southern Ukraine and Kherson and from Kharkiv to Donetsk, giving Russia some time to launch some sort of offensive. Now, how well is Russia's assault on Bakhmut actually going? Let's not get this information from the United States Department of State. Let's not get it from the Department of Defense. Let's definitely not get it from the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense. Let's get it from none other than the Russian state TV, Putin's propaganda machine. Presumably earlier in November, while interviewing a war correspondent, Russian state TV presenter Olga Skabayeva asked a war correspondent this, and I quote, "And as regards to population centers, are there some which we'll be able to take in the very near future, or are we currently counting on successes only in meters and kilometers, advancing really slowly?" This is the question she's asking the war correspondent, and she's probably expecting some kind of good news she can go feed her your audience. That's not what he says. War correspondent Dmitry Stashin replied, "Let me quote my friend, a sniper who for many months has been working near Marinka," which is near Donetsk. He goes on to say, "Marinka, Alexandrivka, Adiyivka, Bisk, we're advancing 3 centimeters a day." That's his phrase. And Dmitry Stashin went on to add, "No comment," to the visibly disappointed propagandist. Yeah, she had to cut that bad news off real fast, or it's likely she would have been cut off from the face of the earth. And yes, that's the thing. That Russian reporter basically poured cold water on the Russian state narrative. As he said, they were advancing 3 centimeters a day. Now, I don't know if this comment was sarcasm, because it's very difficult to imagine actually advancing 3 centimeters a day, but this did allegedly come from a Russian sniper directly on the front line. So let's just take his word for it. And yeah, that's the state of Russia's assault. We now understand the 3 reasons for their assault. However, the actual assault is not going well at all. And the only way I can see that changing is with the troops from Russia's partial mobilization coming into the front. But we'll see what happens. I'll keep you guys updated. If you want to find out the future events in the Ukraine war, be sure to subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell. That way you won't miss out on any content we have coming at you, and you'll avoid persistent bias of modern media. Be sure to stay tuned for more videos. God bless you, and I'll catch you on the next video.